I am so excited for yet another epic conversation on the Life at Full Blast podcast. I have been giddy excited about this conversation today because I have Cassie Howard in the house, somebody who I have been following here for only 3 or 4 months now, and it has blown my mind what she does for this industry. Cassie, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, thank you. And second of all, that's it. I feel like you've been around for so long. That's
I
all it's
know.
been.
I really only found you in like July or August.
Oh my gosh. Well, it feels like family. I feel like you've been here forever.
That's how I feel as well. You know, when I first started following you, I was like, this woman is disrupting the industry in ways that I've never seen before. You are the ultimate rule breaker, which I really vibe with. And within probably a month and a half of following you, I was like, and I found my forever coach.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
So I want to start today's conversation with your background because I know you've got a very interesting one. And
Yeah.
for me, that was a big key for me going, okay, this is my girl because of where you've come from and how far you've shifted and changed. Can you share a little bit about your story?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you're right. It's been all over the place. And how I ended up in this industry, we'll never know. But I'm here and I'm happy. But I started, if there was a place that I started in entrepreneurship when I was in this was the adult industry first. So I was in the adult industry as soon as well, technically I was 17, pretending to be 18, but let's say 18. And I was in that industry for a while. That's actually where I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about personal branding. I learned about consistency, work ethic, all of that. So I did that for a couple of years until it got to the point where my physical appearance was like a full-time job. Like I had to have my hair, my nails, my everything had to be done all the time and perfect. I was like, F that. Like, cause that's not how I live. I'm like very much, I hang out, no pants, no bra, no hair done, no makeup most of the time. I was like, this ain't gonna work for me. So I left that behind. And then I went into, shockingly, the couponing industry. But this was not meant to be a business. It was from necessity. Working in the adult industry, spending all that money on my appearance, not understanding what to do with all of that money that was coming in so quickly. I spent it all. I had tax bills. I had all these things that didn't realize you had to pay. And so I had all this tax debt. I was like, I need to do something. So I ended up selling all of my adult content, everything is out there. And I just sold it so that I could pay off these debts. And it was the
Mm.
right move for me at the time. I know it. So I trust that. And then I was like, I've got to get my shit together when it comes to money. I've got to really understand this so that this doesn't happen again. And that's when I started to learn about saving money and being frugal and coupons and deal hunting and all of this. And then it was necessity at first. Then it just became this fun game that I played. I was like, let's see how much I save today. Let's see what I can get for free today. And I started to post about my shopping hauls on my blog because I had just like a diary at this point online. And people started asking me for more. They're like, give me more. I want to see more. How did you do that? How did you come up with that? Where did you find those coupons or those deals? And then I just started posting every day. Here's where this deal is. Go to this store, use this coupon, do this transaction. And I started to build a really big following. And then that business grew to like 100,000 a year, which for me was a ton at the time.
Mhm.
And the only issue was that I was working 12, 15, 18-hour days every single day of the week in order to stay on top of all the deals and things that were going on. And so I did this for like 7 years. I ended up having people work for me because obviously I couldn't do it all myself. And
Mhm.
then that just got to the point where it started to feel like I wasn't being paid enough after I paid my team and everything for all the effort that I was putting into it. I was like, this is not going to work for me long term. What's next? And I started to post more about how to make money because I was making money from my blog at that point. So I started to post more about making money and instead of so much around saving. And people started to say, you should be a business coach. You should teach business. So I was like, what the heck is the business coach? And I researched business coaching, found the coaching industry. Lo and behold, here we are.
Here
Like
you
almost
are.
10
Here
years
you are.
later.
And 10 years
Crazy
later,
story.
now 10 years later, now 8 figures cash in the business. That's impressive.
Crazy from going from 100,000 a year to then having like $100,000 weeks, $100,000 days. Like I never in a million years would have ever imagined this kind of a life, ever, ever.
Yeah. And that right there speaks such volumes to me, because obviously the money mindset of somebody who's saving, frugal living, to someone who's now eight figures,
Yeah.
what did that take?
So much. I mean, that was probably the hardest job for me. Strategy and selling and all of that has always kind of been my thing. Like I've always really loved those. But the mindset of going from somebody who you don't pay full price for anything, paying full price is silly. Like, don't be a silly
Yeah.
person. Only silly people do that. And you're being taken advantage of when you pay full price and all of this, to then having to sell $5,000 to work with me for 3 months, you know, which is what my first prices were. Like it was a lot. And I had to work on my mindset for probably a good 5 years straight. And still to this day, I still do, but really intensely for like 5 years straight on understanding the value of money. And it's not just saving money is the best way to go. Sometimes it is paying full price. Sometimes it is buying something, making a mistake, learning from that mistake and not doing it again. Like there's so much that comes from it, but it takes that day after day after day after day consistency of staying on top of your mindset. Because if you don't stay on top of it, you're essentially letting it run wild, and it is
Mhm.
always going to go back into lack and to scarcity and to all of that. And that's for me anyway, which is where I lived for so much of my life, was in that mindset. And I don't want to go back there, so I have to consciously work on it every single day.
Yeah, I love that, because you still work on it every single day. It's not like it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we're done here and
Yeah.
off, right?
Yeah. No, it's a forever and ever thing.
I love it. I love it. So, I know I've polled my audience and they want me to ask you a couple very specific questions. So I got to get those
Okay.
covered for my audience, and then I've got a
Okay.
few more for you. But
Yes.
first, I think the biggest question that comes up is, how does one, especially in the service industry, we're caring, loving, intuitive, we just want to give, 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 and we want to help people. But then we have to say, buy my thing. How do you get comfortable with asking for the sale?
Easy. Just knowing that what you're selling is valuable. That's it. It's
Mhm.
like I'm selling this thing that I know has the potential to change someone's life. Why would I not? Why would I feel bad about that?
Yeah.
The only time there can be issue for some people is if it's like, well, I should just give it for free then. If it's so
Mhm.
valuable and it could change someone's life, why not give it away for free? Because I don't work for free. Simple as that. Like how am I supposed to live and pay my bills? Like I can't do that for free. I have to
Yeah.
charge. But I also give a lot for free all the time. It would be different if all I ever did was sell. Then I can understand people going, but I'm giving all the time and I'm selling all the time. So I think it's fair. If you don't want to pay or you don't have the money to pay, I have lots of free stuff. Go into the free stuff. It's all there for you.
Yeah. And I can vouch for the fact that you give and give and give. I am
I
the
love it.
happy winner of all sorts of Black Friday deals. So thank you.
Yay. Yes.
And so moving on from that, getting comfortable with selling, what I heard you respond with is, again, it's that money mindset. You have to know that what you're doing is valuable, otherwise you're going to always feel uncomfortable selling it.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're trying to sell something that you know people don't need or they don't want, and it's coming from a convincing place of let me try to convince you, like, the whole analogy of the sleazy car salesman, it's like selling you this crappy freaking car just so that he can get a commission. If you're doing
Mhm.
that, then yeah, you're not gonna like it. It's not gonna feel very good. And it's gonna actually, believe it or not, feel worse if somebody says yes. If you're a good decent person. If you're not a decent person, you won't care. But if you're a good person, you're going to care that somebody bought it and you're like, shit, I just did that and they don't actually need it. I'm really good at sales, but I'm a horrible person. Like,
Right?
I don't want to be a horrible person. So I'm not going to sell something to you if I don't think you need it or it's going to be valuable for you.
Yeah. So, how does one become that energetic match where you see your own value, you see the value of your offer, you see the value for the other person? What's the process to get there?
It's just knowing who you're selling to and exactly what it is that they need. That's it. And sometimes it can be a bit difficult because sometimes we don't necessarily know exactly what the person needs. which is why it's important that we're encouraging conversation with our audience too. It's like getting them to engage in our content, seeing, like, sharing a piece of content that you think, okay, maybe this is something that I could create an offer around. Let me do a little teaser piece of content, see how people respond. And if they respond from this place of like confusion or frustration or overwhelm, like, yes, they don't get it. Okay, perfect offer. Now I know it's valuable because they need help with it. They basically told me with this content. Or the other way around, you see they're actually really good there. They don't need help with that. So this would be silly for me to create an offer. It's not going to be valuable to them.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So what would you say to somebody who's, just maybe just entering the coaching industry, or they've been in here for maybe a few months, and they're like looking at everything on social media, and it seems like everybody and their dog has something to sell, and they move into the coaching industry and they're like, how? It's saturated. Everybody's doing the same thing. What the hell do I do? How do I sell in this?
You know what's funny is that somebody asked me this the other day. They're like, "Do you think the coaching industry is saturated?" And for so many years, I was like, "No, that's ridiculous." Now, actually, I do. I do think it's saturated. However, there are a handful of people who stand out. And those are the people making all the money. And the reason that they're making all the money is because they know how to stand out. Everyone who comes into the coaching industry and tries to do it like how everyone else is doing it, they're part of the saturated part of the industry because they're doing it the same exact way. There's nothing unique about them. It's the people who are disrupting. It's the people who are the renegades. It's the ones who are, trying to actually stand out. Like, how can I, for me as a business coach, there's so many business coaches out there. I'm not the best business coach. I'm not the only one who knows about sales and marketing and all that, but I'm really fucking good at standing out. I'm really good at having people look at me. And as soon as people look at you, you've already won. Because most people don't even notice the majority of coaches that are out there because they don't know how to turn heads. And the only reason that they're not turning heads is because they're just a carbon copy of every other coach that's out there.
Doing the same damn thing as everybody else.
Exactly. You've got to find like
Boring.
your secret sauce, like the way that you show up, and not even just your content, but even visually, like how you show up. Like, one thing for me is on Instagram anyway, it's like all black and white. And I'm not the only one who does black and white only on her feed, but I'm one of very few who does that. And people notice and people message me and they're like, why do you only do black and white? And it doesn't even matter why. It's the fact that you noticed. You noticed me because I do it. That's all I needed.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, that is one of the things I've noticed about you is if somebody tells you something, you're like, hold my beer. I'm going to go and prove you wrong.
Oh my gosh, my favorite thing in the world. I love a good challenge. Challenge me, give me something, and I will prove you wrong.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute because, you have the industry said have one signature offer and just sell the same thing. You can't have multiple offers. You'll confuse your audience. You have what, over 100 offers at this point, maybe more?
Yeah, I need to do like another count for the end of this year or something because I feel like we're pushing 200 at this point. There's a lot of offers. But I also want to say though, you can just have a signature offer and go on and make millions of dollars. You can. It's just that you can't tell me that I can't do it a different way because I will. And I'll make more money than you just to prove you wrong.
I even messaged you yesterday on your Instagram story. You're like, tell me I can't watch TV and make money.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I hate that. I get some of my best ideas watching TV. There's no way I'm stopping.
I
Like,
love it.
people want to make you feel like you're doing something wrong, no matter what it is. Like, oh, you don't do sales calls, you're not going to make any money. You don't post reels. This is my current favorite. Is you don't post reels, you're not going to make it. I'm like, let's see. We'll see about that.
Let me show you another way.
Yeah. And
I
it's just
love it.
evidence that like every way works and you just got to find your way and don't listen to anybody who tells you you can't do it that way. Listen to the people who say, I'm not choosing to do it that way, but I love that you're doing it that way. Let's figure out how to make it work even better for you.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And what I notice about you is that you see the possibility in anything and
Yeah.
everything. And that's one of the things that you're always like, what if we could do it this way? What if we do it this way? What if it's possible that we could make 1 million or two or four or 10? Like, you're always looking at that possibility. Did you always think that way?
Hell no. Oh my gosh, no. It was the other way around. It was like, what are all the ways that this could fail? Let me just write them down and prepare myself. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
So, what is it that drives you? Why do you do what you do? What gets you up every morning and continue to work and do this work?
I my one of my favorite things is hearing someone say to me, "It worked." So I tell them something, they do it, it worked. It's my favorite message. I live for it. So anything along those lines of it worked, or I saw your post about XYZ and I tried it and it worked, and I did this thing and then this happened and it worked. Like that is my favorite. So knowing that what I'm saying is helping so many other women to find that freedom, because my brand is all about limitlessness, limitless freedom, limitless abundance, all the things. And so anytime somebody says to me, it worked, it's working, it's happening, like what you said is actually not BS. I tried it and it's doing what you said it was going to do. That is what drives me. It's if I
Mm,
was doing it just for me, I would have quit a long time ago. Like I've made a decent amount of money. I don't need to keep doing it. I do it
mhm.
because it fuels me. Like it brings me so much joy when somebody gets some type of a reward from something that I said. Like nothing makes me happier.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
just showcases your desire to be of service in the world and help people out, right? So, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
where can people find you? Obviously, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere else?
Instagram and Facebook are the main ones. Like I'm on almost all the platforms, but do I like hanging out there? Not so much. I
Yeah.
prefer Instagram and Facebook. Those are my favorites. That's where you'll find the most updated Cassie content.
And speaking of rule breakers, I have Googled you and you
Yeah.
don't really have a website. So I just want to put it out there that I have said this a million times. My clients and my audience are like, but you need a website. I'm spending all my time building a website before I can go sell. And I'm like, no, I don't just go sell an eight-figure
Yeah.
business coach with no website. So that's proof
Yeah.
right there. You can
Yeah,
disrupt these.
exactly. I had a website when I first started because I had the same mindset, and that's what everybody was saying. Okay, build your website, do this, then you're allowed to sell. And I just did. I just got bored with it. I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it a different way. So I still have a website. I just don't put anything on it. Like there's nothing there, but it exists.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for today's conversation. I am so excited that you are in my world. I'm so excited that I found you. I can't wait to share you with the rest of the world as well through this
Oh.
platform. Any last thoughts that you want to leave the audience with around, stepping into this industry, growing in this industry, and really becoming the best version of themselves?
I think my biggest piece of advice, and I think it kind of played through everything we talked about anyway, is to just show up and be unapologetically yourself. Knowing
Mm,
that you do not have to be anyone else. Trust me, for the first few months of my business, I tried. I tried to be like the perfect, I was gonna say model, not the perfect model, the perfect coach, the perfect person that
mhm.
people would want to buy from. And it was like the worst few months of my life, and it didn't even work. So be yourself, be unapologetically you. You're going to piss some people off. You're going to irritate some people. They're going to tell you it won't work. Don't do it like that. Just ignore them. Just do your own thing. And I promise you, you will attract the most perfect people into your world and you'll have a lot of fun together.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Cassie.
Thank you for having me.